Daddy.
All right, guys. Sorry about yesterday's show. Something came up, wasn't able to go ahead and complete that show. It's not a lot of news today, surprisingly. But I will talk about what I know of what I've seen recently, news-wise. I want to address a few things that has happened on chat when it comes with hardware sales suddenly, and discuss what's going on in the industry as usual, so you guys know the deal and what's happening with Super Podshots. So let's begin. Hey, Exponites, you're now rocking with your boy KOR X Kal-El, the last son of Planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Podshots. Man, it's been a great journey. Episode 52, making big moves. I'm excited. I'm very glad to be here for 52 episodes and going to just continue to keep it going, hopefully. We'll see what happens, man. As time goes on, it seems like the show is picking up really, really well. The podcast growing, the channel is growing. I'm very grateful for all the support. So, once again, Microsoft has started this nonsense once more. And it's getting very frustrating being an Xbox fan, just for the simple fact that the communication between the people and the company is constantly derailed with misinformation. And if it's not misinformation, then you don't know how to communicate your message to your install base, because you're setting yourself up for failure when you constantly say one thing, then turn around a few days or a few weeks later and say another. And it's not a good look. It's not a good look if you're an Xbox fan. It is not a good look if you're a Microsoft representative or employee, and you have to constantly defend your actions. You guys need a plan and you need to stick to it. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Microsoft recently came out and started to edit some of their all games going to PC, and the Xbox will not have any exclusive rhetoric, and started saying, no, the Xbox will now have exclusives. And again, as a console gamer, that's awesome. That's great. That's good to know. I'm excited about that. I think every Xbox fan should be excited about that. There is no reason why, if you're an Xbox fan, that you should not be excited about that. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge that you cannot just sit up there and then turn around and present this entire E3 presentation about, play anywhere and be on any game and then go on PC, and then the PC gamers have access to these games and things like that, only then turn around and say that, no, well, not every game will go to PC. Microsoft will have some exclusives. I mean, the Xbox will have some exclusives. What exclusives are we talking about that really matter here? Let's be honest for a second. What exclusives really matter on the console that makes the console as a console viable to purchase if you're a PC gamer? And that's the question that you have to ask yourself. Now, the reality of it is that Microsoft has created the Xbox One, the Xbox One Slim, and they are currently working on the Xbox Scorpio, codename Scorpio. And we had this whole thing at E3. I was there. I seen it. I'm in it. And I support it because I support the brand, and I really want the brand to succeed because I want more games to play on my Xbox One, and I want, the community to enjoy themselves and be successful with Microsoft and things like that. And I wish nothing but the best. But at the same time, I just keep reiterating the weakest part of Microsoft isn't their software, it's their communication. It's their communication team. It's their PR team. I got into a big argument with guys over the last week about Microsoft's communication and how they talk in the media. Microsoft talks more in the media than Sony does. And this is God honest truth. Sony may have more news, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, for PlayStation, for VR, whatever it may be, they have the bigger install base. Reality of it is that websites are going to try to cater to the larger install base. And that's the truth. There's numbers to back that up. At the same time, the most talk when it comes to what Microsoft is doing as a platform comes from so many sources in the Xbox company, or should I say the Microsoft company of the Xbox division. You have Phil saying one thing, you have Aaron Reberg saying one thing, you have Albert Pernillo saying something, you got Rod Ferguson saying something, you might have this developer over here saying one thing, and all of it has to do with the Xbox. All of it has to do with some technology within the Xbox, whether it's giving the game a boost or it's doing something with its resolution, or the game does one thing. And for some apparent reason, none of the communication is the same. None of the communication being relayed is going back and forth amongst each other. It's based on what this one person knows. And it's possible that one individual may have more knowledge than the other individual. And that's a detriment to both Microsoft and their PR team. And I really hate to say that, but let's be honest here. Sony hasn't even had this type of issue. Nintendo hasn't had this type of issue. And it's not to say that it hasn't happened to them. It's not to say that it's not commonplace, but it's a problem because of the simple fact that you're confusing the public in the direction you're trying to take your brand. And, it's not about the console anymore. You're talking about an ecosystem. And when you're talking about an ecosystem, you're talking about Windows 10 PC gaming. You're talking about Windows 10 tablet gaming, phone gaming, console gaming, backwards and forward compatibility. You're talking about increased hardware specs with the Scorpio and having, high-end PC level gaming coming out in 2017. And you now have the entire fan base and you have PC gamers believing that games will be heading to PC through Windows 10, not Steam, of course. So you have to be able to really take a step back and then say, well, wait a second, because they've been stealth editing certain things about what's exclusive and now what's not exclusive. And it just sends another negative message out there. I swear to God, I feel like Microsoft takes 5 steps forward, 2 steps back. And they're always slowing their pace to the finish line. You take a tremendous step forward at E3 with your presentation in games and your presentation in hardware. And then again, all the people who, in my opinion, I blame the media, not Microsoft in that regard, when it came to talking about these, the differences between the X1, the Slim, and the Scorpio, because I got it. I understood it right off the rip, and a lot of Xbox people understand it. I think the only people who don't understand it are the people who are not Xbox gamers, who are not Xbox first gamers. They could be Xbox. They could be their second platform. It could be a platform they're interested in, but there's not something that they're investing their time in the way us Xbox gamers and us Xbox podcasters invest our time in. There's a big difference. So when someone comes to me and tells me something about Xbox, you're not telling me anything I don't know. But at the same time, if someone says something through the Microsoft company, that gets out to the media. We all know how the media can put things in a certain perspective or say things the way they want to say it. And it's not to say that they're trying to change anything or miscue anything, but they interpret things. Different people interpret things the way they hear it and what they want to hear. And then that gets out. And then you have all the people who are interested and all the people who might want it, or all the people who have the console as a second console, get this negative reception from the media, and then it spreads like wildfire because obviously we have Facebook and Twitter and social media and things like that. And one thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, there's this negative stigma because of something that Microsoft said, and it goes right back to the communication problem. I don't know what Microsoft has to do to fix this communication issue. And they really need to be able to address some of their problems when it comes to talking about what they want to address to the public and to their install base, because really they should be using the install base to communicate their vision out to other people. Word of mouth is now the biggest thing when it comes to advertisement. If 10 of your friends know something about a particular game and all 10 of them are in agreement, you're more than likely to purchase and support what your 10 friends have. So the message for Scorpio when it releases has to be crystal clear on whatever it does. Whatever the hardware specs is, whatever games it plays, whatever BC is available for it, whether forward compatibility is available for it, you know, whether it's 4K gaming, 1080p gaming, whatever it may be, these are the things that has to be clear. It has to be clear. 1 second, guys. Excuse me. This is a serious issue for me. It really is. Because, you know, a lot of my content I get from Microsoft. I get from people that I speak with. I get from different news sites. As someone who is a podcaster and as someone who leads TICGN and its networks and its podcast, you know, my communication among the Microsoft team and people that I know in the industry and things like that is highly important and highly reliant on proper communicative information. So, you know, things have to be more clear. They have to be more precise in what they do. I can't stress enough. You know, we've been talking about this since the inception of the Xbox One, since it released. And to this day, every time we think Microsoft gets it right, somehow they mess it up and they take a step back. And I don't know who to blame. I don't know who is to blame for that. I don't know if it's the PR company. I don't know if it's different people managing the developers and the executives, because, you know, everybody has kind of like a liaison that's always with them. That's always like there to guide them or give them the information on what to say. Don't say this, do this, yada, yada, yada. You know, so it can be very disappointing when you hear things like that. Now, for me, obviously, I'm excited because, look, I'm a console gamer. It to me, I always felt like the identity, once they went with games going to Windows 10 PC, was now Xbox on anything Windows 10. So I look at any exclusive as a Windows 10, you know, an Xbox exclusive, but a Windows 10 exclusive, a Microsoft exclusive, if you want to call it that. And the game still has the Xbox introduction. The game still has, you know, it has to be played on the Xbox app on PC and things like that. So yes, it's a part of the Xbox ecosystem, and it's highly reliant on it. But again, it's not played on the. It doesn't have to be played on the Xbox console, so you can play it on a Windows 10 device. So I look at it as an Xbox Windows 10 exclusive, or a Microsoft exclusive, as I said before. But at the end of the day, what can you keep on the Xbox that's significant enough to keep people interested in purchasing an Xbox? Now, the best thing they possibly can do is next year in 2017, when they release the Scorpio, that it comes out at a price point that a PC gamer can't even get the specs at. And regardless, that the console hardware will be obsolete in a year or two. Doesn't matter, because the difference between consoles and PC is that consoles are static and they're optimized for the best performance of that particular console. Now, DX12 is supposed to help with PC development, making it close to the metal. So that way, these games are getting closer to the way you develop games on consoles. But a console is still a console for a particular reason. And with the UWP, you're supposed to be able to scale that, whether it's on Xbox One or whether it's on the Xbox Scorpio or whether it's on PC. So it really just boils down to Microsoft making sure that they have a clear message when it comes to what they're going to be doing. And I've already heard that they are doing a crazy deal where they're working out some stuff with retailers for trade-ins. They want people to trade in their Xbox Ones to get a Scorpio. So I assume that they're probably going to at least make the Scorpio half off. At least make the Scorpio half off. If not, maybe a good 30% off, which to me is a significant, honestly, when you really think about it. I think you could trade in an Xbox One at GameStop right now for probably like, I don't know, $150 or maybe $120 at the most, which really isn't something significant on a console that possibly could be $600 when you could still potentially pay $500 for that console. So, it's definitely really important that Microsoft works with retailers and they make sure that, if you trade in your Xbox, that you're able to get a significant amount of money for it. And if you have a Connect, that should be a bonus. It shouldn't be something added to the Xbox. You should definitely get an increased credit for your Connect. Now, hopefully the Connect works with the Scorpio. And I believe it's supposed to, because all peripherals are backwards compatible across all devices. And that's great, which means you can still hold on to your extra controllers and things like that. All of that will work with the Scorpio. But I also wonder if the Scorpio will have a new controller itself, a standard controller. Will it be the Elite controller? Will it be a new design controller? Maybe not the Elite, but something smaller? I don't know. At the end of the day, Microsoft needs to make sure the communication is clear in that. Do you keep Halo on Xbox? Do you keep Gears on Xbox? Do you keep Forza on Xbox? No one gives a damn about an indie game being on Xbox as an exclusive. They really don't. Let's just keep it 100 right now. They really don't. As much as I love indie games and as much as I think indie games are super important and super special in today's industry, no one gives a damn about an indie game being exclusive on a console. At least not in a regard where you're going to go out and spend $500-$600 on a console to play one indie game or a few indie games. That's exclusive. The significant reason and why everybody's clamoring for these exclusives now, all of a sudden, the people who hate Xbox now want Xbox games. The people who hated Halo and people who hated Forza, who thought it was, wasn't anything in comparison to any other game, are suddenly playing it and suddenly interested and suddenly reserving because these games are supposedly coming to PC in the future. These guys are, they want to play these games. They're going to purchase these titles. So what does that do for the Xbox fan base? Do you then keep that? That immediately kills the Windows 10 store, because those are the most significant games that people want. Those are big titles that people want. People want to see Halo. They want to see Gears. They want to see Forza. They want to see, Killer Instinct has already made that transition very well. Quantum Break is on there. I don't know if they fixed it by now, but Quantum Break is available on PC as well. Windows 10 PC. I always have to say Windows 10 PC. I don't want to say PC. That's another thing that, the media needs to change as well. And I'm glad Microsoft has decided to make that change when they introduce their games. They always say Windows 10 and Xbox, which is highly intelligent, highly smart of them to do. And I give them props for that. The media doesn't say that. The media says PC. And I get it. But you confuse people because people think they have Windows 7 and they can play these Xbox games on Windows 7 or Windows 8. And they think they can play these games on Windows 8. Another confusing thing that's out there is that Microsoft said that some of their games will be going to Steam. I want to be clear in this. If you think you're getting Halo on Steam, That's not happening. I don't think what Microsoft meant, and they should have been clearing this as well. I don't think what Microsoft meant in that regard that they're going to be sending their AAA games to Steam. That would immediately kill their store. That's not what they're talking about. There will be deals in situations where they have console exclusive indie games that will be on Steam. Like, for instance, or for example, you have a game oh my God, I just had the game in my head and I lost it. Ori and the Blind Forest, which is also, and it's an own Xbox game. It's on the Xbox One, but it's also on Steam. Or you may have third-party exclusivity like Tomb Raider or Dead Rising, which those titles are on PC and Steam. So, I mean, that's what they're saying, where they will have games going to Steam. They'll still be working with Steam. But if you expect a AAA Microsoft Studios game to go to Steam, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen at all. So you probably should drop that rhetoric right there then and move on and just pick up Windows 10 and go into the Windows Store. And, you know, they're working on it. Hopefully they fix it, you know, by the time, you know, they really start to increase their library of titles in the Windows Store, because one of the biggest issues, obviously, is that a lot of the games have been FUD when it comes to performance on PC for the PC Windows 10 gamer. And that's disappointing in a way, but I heard that Forza was really well. Forza works well, and I believe, no, it wasn't Gears. Gears didn't work well. Quantum Break didn't work well. Killer Instinct, I heard, works extremely well as well. So that's at least two games I know of so far that works extremely well. You're going to have Recore going there. You're going to have Halo Wars 2 going there, which is big. Gears 4 is going there, which is big. So there's a lot of titles that's going to Windows 10 Store, and I hope that they truly make it work so that way those games are successful on PC as well as successful on the Xbox One. Because, again, that all leads to more games and more titles, and that just means more fun for the Xbox community. But if you don't get your communication clear, you turn people off. No one can believe what you're saying, and it makes it difficult for people to then reiterate or relate that communication out to the public for those who want to understand what Microsoft is doing for public consumption. But then the next week I have to come back and tell you, oh, well, Microsoft did this, or Xbox did this, or someone said this, or they changed their mind this. And I can't do anything about that, but it's very disappointing knowing that the communication is still to this day a major issue within the Xbox division. So Microsoft finally is going to release Red Dead Redemption, which is awesome. Backwards compatible on the Xbox One. And that's exciting. And once again, Xbox One's backwards compatibility shows the benefits of it bringing another amazing title. It kills my theory, though, that I think that, you know, Red Dead Redemption was going to be a part of some type of Red Dead Renaissance, you know, some type of Red Dead game coming out from Rockstar, and you would get it BC. With the title. Now, that's not to say that they won't do that. It's not to say that if Rockstar comes out with the game, if you're an Xbox gamer, you get Red Dead for free when you pick up their new Red Dead game or whatever they're going to call it. But at the same time, I really thought that, you know, that's what they were holding off for. And when it didn't show up at E3, I was kind of disappointed because I really wanted that game to be there. But we'll never know. We'll see what happens at Gamescom. Gamescom is next month. It's not too far away, and I'm hearing that they do have some games in the works and some things that they are going to surprise us with, and I'm excited for it. Sony will not be at Gamescom. They will be on the showroom floor, meaning they will have games playable there, but they will not be doing a presentation. So again, it's up to Microsoft to deliver. Last year they delivered, and they took Gamescom easily. I don't think EA or anybody else that showed anything really blew the walls off. Microsoft showed off Scalebound last year. I think gameplay. What else did they show? I think they showed Tomb Raider and some other things. I can't think off the top of my head because it was a year ago. But they showed a few things here and there that was really impressive. And, you know, they ran away with Gamescom, and it was big. I think if they're able to do what they've done last year, this year, but do it even in a more impressive fashion, let's show some games on the Xbox One Slim in HDR. Let's show that to the public. Let's show how Forza 3 looks running on this game with HDR. Show us some new IPs. I don't even give a damn if it's a banner or a name. You know what I'm saying? Just throw it up there. Let us know that you're working on projects, that these are games we can look forward to. We can speculate to the death of us. That's up to us gamers and us listeners and us podcasters. But let us know that you are working on some projects. I think that's really important that Microsoft displays that. Now, what's really cool is, like I said before, Rare has recently hired one of the game designers from Fable, which is really awesome, as well as a few other developers. So they've gone ahead and bolstered their roster of people at Rare, basically adding 13 new employees in the past month. And it goes back to what I said before, and I hate saying that over and over and over again. It's just for those of you who may be new to the channel and may be new to listening to Super Podshots. I kind of overlap myself weekly, I guess you can say. But Rare is Microsoft's new IP studio. It really is. They are going to be pumping out games left and right. And I heard that they have 2 games that they're working on. I don't know if they're new IPs. I don't know if they're sequels or they're reboots. I'm not sure. I would hope that one of them is Perfect Dark. I think that game, it's about time that game came back. I think it's really important that Perfect Dark comes back. Having Ken on last year and talking to him about maybe having a third-person Perfect Dark to offset, Halo, and at the time, like the Call of Duties and things like that Microsoft was known for being a shooter box, being a third-person, maybe stealth action game with tech, sci-fi, alien invasions, CIA cover-ups, NSA conspiracies, things like that. I think would be really interesting and would be really great for the genre in itself. And it would be something completely different. It's something that Microsoft doesn't have. You have a female lead, and that continues to bolster diversity within Microsoft's library. And I think that's really cool. So I just really hope that Perfect Dark is one of those titles. I would not be surprised if Microsoft was actually going to show either a new Banjo or a new Rare. A new Banjo or a new Conquer. Not a new Rare, apologies. The new Conquer. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there was talk of a while ago that they were working on a game that had, I believe it was like bipedal mechanics, which is like 4-legged characters. And I'm not saying that can't happen on Sea of Thieves, but it just seems more inclined to work with Banjo or work with Conquer. Banjo more than likely because of the creatures and animals that walk around on 4 legs that you can platform on and stuff like that. That's the one thing Microsoft has not released, this year, which is a major big AAA platformer. Ori and Blind Forest is a great platformer, one of the best titles on the Xbox One, but it's not a big AAA production. So getting a platformer of that caliber from Rare and from Microsoft would be big, and that's something that they can help bolster their library. And I think Rare's just going to be pumping out games, man. Rare's probably going to be working on a new Fable. Sea of Thieves. I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped a new Conquer or a new Banjo. They're going to have a lot of stuff, and I expect them to show at least something new at Gamescom. If not, maybe they just hold off and wait until another event, maybe the Windows 10 Xbox event. I'm not sure. But they definitely have something up their sleeves. They're constantly hiring and getting bigger. And that says a lot. It really does says a lot when you're expanding your team after cutting 2 studios and cutting a ton of employees. So it says something to me, and that's good to know. And we have a great relationship with Craig Duncan and things like that. So we talk. But I'm looking forward to what's happening at Gamescom. Microsoft needs to show some stuff that's impressive for the future. They need to show Europe as well as the rest of the Eastern world that they have games coming out in 2017, not just early 2017, which looks amazing, by the way, with Scalebound and possibly Sea of Thieves and Halo Wars 2. So there's a lot of games they have potentially coming out early next year, which will be great. And that continues to allow Microsoft to spread out their IPs which is something that fans constantly are clamoring for. Really want Microsoft to expand their IPs beyond just the holiday season. Let's get these games out in February, get these games out in April, get these games out in May, so we have these things to play early in the year, and we're not stuck playing, games that's in preview, betas and things like that. And that's not to say that's not great, but let's just be honest here. That's not something that you're going to be boasting about in the spring. Microsoft had a good run in spring with Quantum Break. They had Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition. They had a few preview games. They had a few betas. They had as well as Cobalt and a few other smaller titles, but nothing major besides Quantum Break. A lot of third-party support, a lot of third-party games came out early on and things like that, but that's just one of another thing that people like to take shots at Microsoft about how they don't put all their games out throughout the course of the year. They produce games only during the holiday season. So I think it's important that Microsoft is out there putting these games out early on next year. That's very smart for them, and I'm glad that they're doing that. But I expect with Scalebound, Sea of Thieves, and Halo Wars 2 dropping early 2017, late 2017 must be insane. It has to be absolutely insane. So I don't know what they're going to talk about, but I would assume that they would talk about it at Gamescom. And I think that is really important that they show what they have planned for 2017, or at least one or two games for 2017, holiday 2017, to let fans know when Scorpio comes out, you're going to be blown away and impressed. And I think that might be something they may do. So again, it's been a slow news week, man. It's pretty crazy what's been happening in the industry, and like we've been getting all these remasters and things like that. Resident Evil 4 is coming to Xbox One and PS4. I don't know, man. I don't know. This to me is like, here's what's crazy about this generation. Okay, the generation has not ended with the announcement of the Neo and the Scorpio. And I want to make sure people understand that and be clear and understand what I'm saying. I thought that the Scorpio and the Neo would be, well, not the Neo, but at least the Scorpio would be a new generation. But it can't be a new generation because of the simple fact that, when you're doing these types of, when you're doing what Microsoft is doing as far as the games work backwards compatible, and if you release a game on the Scorpio, it will also be playable on the Xbox One, and the Scorpio currently will not have any exclusives minus VR. That tells me that the generations are still the same, and that's something that the fans should be happy and grateful for, because it doesn't separate the fan bases. Give me 1 second. Have to take care of some business. Apologies. So, as I was saying, this generation has been a weird generation because we just had so many remasters. I feel like people are putting more effort in reselling old games than creating new ones. Capcom has been notorious this generation when it comes to remasters. It's really bad, honestly. I don't know what Capcom is doing, and I've been very disappointed with what they've been doing game wise. There was a lot of promises being made, and they haven't really delivered on it. Whatever happened to Deep Down for PlayStation, I don't even know when that game is ever going to release. I wouldn't be surprised if it came out on Neo, because it just seems like that's where it's going to go. On the other hand, they delivered Dead Rising, and we're supposed to get Dead Rising 4 at the end of the year in October, I believe. And it's weird because I think I said this on the last Inner Circle podcast. Microsoft does not have a AAA release happening in November. I don't think that's ever happened. Now, that's not to say that Gamescom can't come and they announce some amazing, spectacular game that surprises us and blows us all away. Like, oh my God, this is coming out when? This November? But I don't think there's ever been a time Microsoft hasn't released a game in November. And I get why you have Battlefield, you have Call of Duty. Maybe they got scared off from last year with Tomb Raider and they decided not to do it and release all their games in October, which I guess in a nutshell is also smart. But you just have to really acknowledge, do those games put that much fear in Microsoft? And I guess without a Halo, which in its own right, in its own respect, would demand its own, will capture its own space and bully its own way, in I guess in that month, in comparison to a Battlefield or a Call of Duty. You couldn't put a game like Dead Rising in that month. You couldn't put a game like Recore in that month. They would get crushed by Battlefield and Call of Duty. That's just the reality of it, and whatever else AAA game comes out at the end of the year, in November. So it's just been a weird generation. The generation continues with Scorpio and Neo. These are not PlayStation 5s and Xbox 2s. The Scorpio, my understanding now, is that it is new hardware, but it's not so much a new generation. But this generation, to me, it hasn't been, this might be one of the worst generations. It really, let's just be honest here for 1 second. And if you think back to all the generations of gaming that you have done, I can go back to my Super Nintendo days, original PlayStation days, Dreamcast days, the PS2 days, Xbox 360, Xbox days, my GameCube gaming. I can't think of a generation where we've had more remasters, more talk about resolution, more fanboy wars, more broken games, more DLC, more games being completed while we're purchasing the game, while we're playing the game. We're getting the rest of the game in an install than this generation. And though there have been some really good ones out there, though there have been some really good games out there, and even maybe some great ones to some people, even though there's been some really good and some great games out there, by far, this generation might have been the worst generation for games. It really feels that way when you look at it as a whole. If you look at the entire landscape as a whole, that's really what it's kind of seemed to be that way. Though I prefer, in my opinion, this is the best Xbox console Microsoft has ever built. It really is. I don't care what nobody says. 360 was a great console. It really was. The original OG Xbox was a superb console as well. But the Xbox One, the things that this console can do, the way they upgrade the interface, the way they give you updates, the way it's designed, not for software, but for the interface and the way you interact with the console, to me, best console Microsoft has ever made. And they can only outdo themselves with the Scorpio, because now you're going to add this whole entire integration and upgradability, the 3 OSs, the hypervisor, and all these things into the Scorpio, and then you're going to give the hardware to go with it. Might be the best console ever made. Might be the best console ever made. And that's my opinion. Everybody doesn't have to agree with my opinion, but that's my opinion. And that's not a fanboy thing either. That's just my opinion, because I like the OS. And if the hardware lives up to what it's supposed to be, which is actually potentially more than what they're stating now, because again, who can believe what Microsoft is saying? You know what I'm saying? Who can believe what Microsoft is saying? Oh man, I just don't see how this console wouldn't be one of the best consoles ever built. Really, I just can't see it. This is just very, very funny and very weird in itself. So, look, it's been a slow week. That's going to be it for our show this week. I'm going to take a few questions, and I will be back next week with another episode of Super Podshots, hopefully with potentially more news and more things buzzing in the industry. What's really cool is that we will have a interview set up on the red carpet this Saturday with super awesome hyper-dimensional mega team. They are working on a game called Rise and Shine that is being published by Adult Swim Games. Great guy that I got a chance to, Enrique. His game looks really awesome. It's very well designed. The plot of the story is that this kid lives on this planet called Game Earth, and he lives among all these old school video game characters. And instead of it being kind of like where you have these big bulking guys that we usually play with in Gears, these guys, these soldiers are invading the planet. And as they invade the planet, you have to defend against them instead of it being the opposite way. So it's really cool, man. Check out that show. That'll be dropping this Saturday and things like that. So that's it for the show this week. We will not have a Inner Circle podcast tomorrow. Anchorman V will be releasing his Top Shelf program tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, but keep an eye out for that. And we'll be back. I'll be back next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. So I'm your boy, KOR SKLL, the last on planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace. All right, guys. So I'm here going to answer a few questions, not many. I'm going to end the show pretty short today. Have a lot of things on my plate. But if you have any questions for me today, go ahead and ask them now, and we will knock those out. And I appreciate everyone stopping in once again this week to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. Jet Fan 95. That's right, baby. JETS all day. I can't wait for football season. You're getting me hype already. Do you think we will get a new game to represent the new generation like we did last gen with BioShock, Mass Effect, Batman Arkham, Gears of War, Uncharted, Last of Us, etc.? I don't think we will. I don't think we will either. I thought Quantum Break was going to be that game, but it didn't live up to its potential, according to some people. For me, I thought it was really great. I thought it was something that Microsoft needed. It had an amazing story. And it was really exciting to play that game. Let's see here. I guess that's it. Do we have any other questions before I head out? All-Star Gamer says maybe they can remaster a Mass Effect collection in November. That is first on Xbox and PC to get fans ready for the new Mass Effect. They had Skyrim recently remastered, and none of the saves are transferring over. I'm not buying that game. I'm a big ESO guy, not ESO. I'm a big Elder Scrolls guy. I really am. And I really did love and really do love Skyrim. But I put almost 275, 300 hours into that game. I am not playing that game again. I'm just not. All the stuff that I did, every game, everything that every like dungeon, side quest, mission, that I could possibly do the exploration of that entire map, playing all the DLC, leveling up and getting all these cool weapons and armors and spells, and you want me to do that again? No, I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen. That's just crazy. I can't do it. Mass Effect Remastered. Mass Effect is an amazing game. And I think it will look amazing, but I've played the game. I played the game for the story. I don't want to, unless they did something to the story to alter it or change it in some way, I don't see myself picking up Mass Effect. Same thing with BioShock. I played BioShock. I loved it. It looks great. I'm not picking it up. I'm just not going to do it. I played the game already. I'd rather have the game on PC. I thought what they did with Red Dead Redemption was the smart thing to do for Microsoft. At least for the Xbox fans anyway, when it comes to this whole, backwards compatible and this whole remaster thing, which one do you go with? Do you pay the $40 for an up-res and a polish on the textures and an up-res on graphics and maybe a frame lock? Do you pay $40? Do you pay $60 for that? Or do you just play what you played on the 360 because you have the game and you have the saves? And all the DLC is free. I mean, look. The games don't even look significantly that much different or that much better. It's not like they did a whole overhaul on some anniversary edition stuff like they did with Halo 2. Halo 2 set the standard. I compare everything to Halo 2. If you're not on Halo 2 level, don't talk to me. Courtney Spence asks, hey, Cal, what are you expecting for this August update? Do you think we could get a superhero game for Xbox, maybe Static Shock or Blade? For the update this August, I expect some things, obviously background music, little things here and there. I'm pretty sure they'll have something that will impress us. I haven't heard much. They've been keeping things close to the chest, so I don't know. Me, I'm praying to God for Movie Party. I don't care. I don't want any other feature other than Movie Party. I don't know why I want that thing so bad. I just remember enjoying myself so much with Movie Party. It was absolutely one of the best features that the 360 ever had, and they took it away, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but it was disappointing that they did that. As far as Microsoft getting an Xbox game, a Static Shock and Blade would be cool because they're rather unknown. They're not unknown characters, but they're not as big as Spider-Man. That's just reality of it. They're not as big as a Batman, Superman. They don't have the namesake. I just don't think Microsoft is going to do it. That deal was worked out between Sony and Marvel, and that's a combination of both what they're doing with Avengers and what they're doing with the Spider-Man franchise, because Sony has the rights to Spider-Man, lending the rights to Marvel so they can put Spider-Man in Avengers, which is payback and giving them the Spider-Man game as an exclusive. It's really that simple. It's disappointing that, obviously Xbox gamers won't be able to get a chance to play it, but if you have a PlayStation, you'll be able to enjoy the game and things like that. I'm not losing no sleep over Spider-Man. I love the way the game looked. It's exciting, and if I get the Neo, I would definitely pick it up, but it's not something that's going to make me rush out to go pick up a console. D21 Exclusive says, Will we see a new Conquer, Perfect Dark, or Banjo this gen? Any hint? I think we will. I think we will see at least a Perfect Dark. Now, the fact that Ken Lobb said last year that they had discussions about Perfect Dark, that's enough information for me to know that they have been talking about it and thinking about rebooting and reviving it. I think it's really important to recognize that they are trying to put the effort out to do something with that franchise. It's a franchise that's beloved. It did decently on the 360, but we haven't seen that game in almost 15 years. So they should definitely bring at least Perfect Dark back. You got Banjo on the game with Rare Replay. You got Conquer on the game with Rare Replay. You got Perfect Dark on there as well. But I think Perfect Dark is a franchise that Microsoft can do a lot with. And be honest with you, the game should be very mature. It should be a high level AAA production. It should not be no small, budget or mid-grade AA budget type title. It should be something that's heavily invested in. They should get the top of the line people that know how to make stealth games and know how to write amazing stories, especially when it comes to like plot twists, and conspiracy theories, small integrations of aliens, and then you come out with a sequel and you go full blown aliens. Something that they should do. And all of this is happening on Earth. I think it's something they should do. JetFan95 said Pokemon Go is garbage. Do not download it. You know what's crazy was I was thinking about picking it up on my Galaxy S, and I haven't heard many people say it was bad. So I definitely want to try it out though. It's crazy. JetFan95 says, do you think the NX will support Blu-rays? I don't know, man. So Nintendo's always proprietary with their stuff, with their CDs, their controllers. I'm hearing that they're gonna have cartridges. Real talk. Like, I'm not even joking. The NX is supposed to have cartridges, and my understanding is that's actually a good thing for a lot of reasons. We'll see what happens when it drops next spring. But I wouldn't be shocked if they did that, because that's a Nintendo move. That's Nintendo-esque. Nintendo-esque at its finest. All-Star Gaming 1000 says, do you think Mass Effect 2 and 3 will go on BC, or it be a bonus for the new Mass Effect? Well, with the remasters coming out at the end of the year, to wait an entire year, maybe not an entire year, but wait at least half a year to get your hands on Mass Effect Andromeda, to have 2 and 3 backwards compatible, to me would just be in poor taste when the remaster is out, and you could probably pick it up at that time for a cheaper price. So I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I think that if they were going to do it, they need to do it now. You know, if you're going to release Red Dead, you might as well release Mass Effect 2 and 3. And if you release Mass Effect 2 and 3, you better release Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon, because they're really ticking me off with that. I don't know what the hell is taking so long for those games. JetFan95 asks, do you think Rare would be the right fit to make a new Fable? They're the closest. They would be the closest of any studio, not only because of the UK humor, but because Rare doesn't take themselves too seriously, and Fable is a game that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's very humorous. It's very Monty Python-esque, fart jokes and marriage and kids and kicking chickens. It's a fun game. It can be serious at times, you know, with the Balverines and the skeletons and things like that. But for the most part, it's not that serious of a game. You know, taking it in a different direction would be a completely new reboot. And I think I would love to have a serious Fable, but it's just not in Rare's blood to do it. So I think if Rare does have the franchise, they would probably be the best studio to take it over. Ted asks, if everyone could sub to me, I would really appreciate it. I make a great Grand Theft Auto 5 and Black Ops 3 content sub for great laughs. And you have been blocked because we don't solicit other people on other people's channels and chats. Thanks for the message, Ted, but no thank you for soliciting on Tick Podcast channel, or at least ask first. Courtney Spence asks, Pokemon Go, I played it and still only seeing the starter Pokemon all damn day and still being implemented to give it like a month. All right, that was cool. All right, man. Let me see. Do you have anything else? That's it. Yep. So that's it for the show, man. I really appreciate you guys. Hit me up with some questions. Again, I'll be back next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the proper time on the right day. And next week we'll have the Inner Circle podcast. You guys will have On the Red Carpet this weekend. And I'm still working on a lot of things with Xbox executives to get them on before Gamescom as well as after. So keep it locked here. The best place for Xbox news content and what's popping in the industry. I'm your host, KLYXKL, the last son of Planet Xbox. Courtney Spence asks me to wait. You have a question, Courtney, before I head out? Courtney Spence asks, do you think we can get a new Rise-esque game? That would be great. If they were able to show that at Gamescom, a lot of fans would be excited. I think a lot of fans would go crazy. I don't even think Crytek understands the cult following that Rise has. You know, Rise wasn't a terrible game. It just was repetitive, and because of its repetitiveness, it scored very low. But if you can take what you built with Rise and add variety, add more weapons, add more battle styles, I think that they could potentially have a really great hack and slash title on the Xbox One that's just to this day, one of the top 5 most graphical looking games on any console. To this day, it looks that good. And that's why I think this generation failed a little bit in a way. Not that the consoles failed, but the generation failed, because it's making me think about something that I said a while ago when I was like, in every instance when a game released, there was always a game that eventually surpassed that game. And in this instance, you know, games like Infamous, games like Killzone, games like Rise, Son of Rome, those games today still have not been surpassed by a lot of other titles. And we're 3.5 years in. And it just says a lot about the hardware. It says a lot about these consoles and where they are power-wise and performance-wise. So, you know, to bringing out the Neo and bringing out the Scorpio was a smart thing to do. And I think that as developers learn the hardware better and better and better, they'll be able to pull out more with those 2 newer consoles than they would with these 2 older consoles, in my opinion. And that's really, really the bottom line for it. Yep. All right, so that's it for the show, guys. I'll be back next week. Once again, I'm your host, KLY SKL, the last on the planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace.